All right, welcome everyone. We're so glad that you're here with us today. Welcome to Bloomerang Academy. We appreciate you joining us. If you would please type into the chat, tell us where you're joining us from today and what the weather is like there. I hope you're having warmer weather than here. Right now it's 38 degrees in Indianapolis, very chilly, 38 degrees. Oh, Richmond, sunny and 50. That sounds so nice, Misty. Oh, lovely. Wonderful. 42 in Arizona. Well, you're up higher in Flagstaff there. Yeah, and Indianapolis is so chilly today. So we're glad that wherever, 89, Jennifer, that sounds lovely. We're glad that you're joining us wherever you are or whatever it's like there today. So just a couple of quick housekeeping items. If you need audio for any reason, our dial-in number is here on the screen. I'm going to say it for you, and then later I'll drop it into the chat as well. It's 1-669-900-6833. And just a few housekeeping items. If you need a live transcript on your toolbar at the bottom, you can click on that and it will provide you with a transcript of everything that's being shared today. Couple of quick things about ways to be able to interact during our session today. You do have the chat available to you, which you're all doing a great job of sharing all this wonderful weather reports. We appreciate that. The chat is a great way to share information with the other attendees today. It's a great way to maybe share best practices, or if you have some input, as Hannah is sharing today about online forms, you can kind of share what you know in there. It's a great place for that. But if you have a question that you want answered, it really is better for you to put it into the Q&A. We'll be sure to see it. Sometimes the chat gets busy and we might miss your question. So please do put it into the Q&A if it's a question. So few other housekeeping items. The resources mentioned in the session today will be linked in the slides, which we will share with you after this presentation. So please don't worry about writing down any links. Hannah has done a wonderful job of providing you with all kinds of links and resources. They will be in the slideshow later. So we will share the slides with you and the video via email after within 24 hours after the session today. Any questions that we're not able to get to, if you put something in the Q&A or if you put something into chat, if we don't answer it live, we will get back with you. So please don't worry about that. We want to make sure that we get your questions answered, even if it's not live today. If you need further assistance at any time, don't forget that you can always reach out to our support team at support@bloomerang.com. They're a wonderful team. We get all kinds of feedback about how amazing they are, so please don't hesitate to reach out. So without any further ado, we're going to be talking about Bloomerang online forms today and online giving. So I wanted to introduce Hannah Sheldon. Hannah is just recently in Hannah Sheldon. She just came back from her honeymoon, so had to get used to her new name. She's an implementation specialist here at Bloomerang, and she has a lot of background in the nonprofit space. She served 2 years as a Peace Corps volunteer, which is a really unique, special thing that she's done. And she enjoys crafting, digging into big data projects, and spending time with her cat and dog, who are adorable, and her husband, Dan. So Hannah, without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you and allow you to share your screen and talk to us about getting started with online giving.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hannah. You've probably figured that out by now. Let me get my screen shared here and we can start rolling. All right. Bloomerang team, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Lovely. Okay. Welcome, everyone, to Getting Started with Online Giving. Hopefully that is the webinar that you intended to come to, because that's the one you're at. On our webinar today, we are going to walk through kind of the very first, I am brand new. What do I do? How do I accept donations? All the way up until I've received donations. What do I do now? How do I use this information moving forward? So we'll begin with connecting a transaction processor. So that's the mechanism that actually moves the money from the donor's account to your account. We'll then set up our confirmation emails, right? So the email that thanks the donor for giving. We'll then go through the steps of building an online form, and I'll have pictures of what all those steps are, and then we'll actually do it live as well. We'll then do some next steps. Now that I have this form, what do I do with it? And then I will point out some resources here at the very end. And as Margie said, everything will come through the slides at the very end as well. Okay, so to begin with, why online fundraising? Why should you care? The answer is because that's how your donors probably want to give. It's the easiest way to give. 54% of of donors worldwide would prefer to give online. That's a very easy method for people to give. People are used to it at this point. It also helps your revenue as a nonprofit to go up through online giving, right? It's a pretty easy way to bring that in. And in 2020, the online giving actually increased by 20%, by more than 20%, up until 2021. So Bloomerang Payments. This is the payment processor that Bloomerang runs. It allows you to process your gifts directly in Bloomerang. It allows for recurring gift payments and pledges and pledge payments to automatically pay on a schedule. And it also allows you to accept donations online. It allows you to kind of keep all of your information about Bloomerang as your donation platform and Bloomerang as your payment processor all in one place as well. It's pretty simple and straightforward. The support team can help you to a point, kind of figure out exactly what it's telling you and show you the resources that are available to you. It allows you to accept credit card and EFT donations. So that's like directly from a bank account. And it will update a card for a donor if it expires or something like that. It kind of streamlines that process for you and all the major pain points that we've found kind of along the way. So getting into it, connecting the transaction processor. So a transaction processor is that mechanism that actually moves the money from the donor to you, right? Whether that comes from a credit card or a debit card or something like that, or a bank account. It moves that money from point A to point B. We would always recommend Glimmering Payments, obviously. So how we're going to do this, we will click within your Bloomerang window. You'll click the settings area on the bottom left menu. On the transactions tile in the show of tiles that it gives you, we'll click edit. We'll then get a side menu that says transaction processors, which we'll click. We'll then click the green connect button on the Bloomerang Payments tile and then proceed to Stripe to complete the setup process. Stripe runs the back end of Bloomerang Payments. So this is what that looks like, right? So we'll click that settings area. We'll then click the transactions tile and then click transaction processors. What this looks like in real life is this. So if we go to our settings area, we will then click our transactions tile and then click transactions processor. Now I'm already connected to Bloomerang Payments here. If you are not connected, you'll see a green connect button here. So that's going to be your way to do it. Okay. So there's a couple setup steps that need to happen before we actually could put together our form. A couple pieces need to be in place. The first is going to be setting up your acknowledgement email. This is the email that thanks your donor for giving after the transaction is processed, and it goes out automatically. So there's nothing that you need to do to kind of make that email go out. We'll make one that looks kind of like this, something that includes a picture, a little bit of text, some contact information. We'll walk through this process. Also, I would highly recommend this create an email template resource there. So in order to find our acknowledgement emails, in order to create one, we will click the emails on the left side. We'll then click the blue New button, which is in the top right. We will then select the type of template you'd like to start from, select the design you'd like to use. The key here is making sure that it is a transaction-based template. So something that references a transaction in the text. And then we'll kind of do a very, very brief overview of customizing the body of your email by adding pictures and texts and links and stuff. What this looks like is hitting the emails area here on the left side, the blue New button on the right side, and then I'm going to suggest starting from a starter template just because it's a thank you email and a simple transaction template is probably going to be the way to go. We're then going to come into the actual email itself. This is just the standard simple transaction template. It always starts like this, but you can drag and drop different items here, different content blocks into the body of your email to kind of make it your own, make it appear the way you'd like it to appear. A couple tips regarding acknowledgement emails. Number one, at the very top here, thank your donor. Say thank you. Feels obvious, but make sure you do it. I would always encourage including a picture. Just kind of makes it a little bit more engaging for the donor, and it makes it look like you took a moment to kind of put together a thoughtful email. I would always encourage you to direct them back to your website to engage them a little bit more. At the bottom of your email, make sure that your contact information is correct. If you have a standard info at whatever your organization's name is email, that's going to be the one you want to use there, right? It's going to make it so that if people just have general questions, they can email to a general email inbox. I would also encourage you to use merge fields to personalize your message within your email. A merge field is something like a first name, where you can say, put in this mail merge field into your email, and then for each person it goes out to, it'll say, Dear Hannah, Dear John, Dear Jenny, that type of thing. It personalizes the email a little bit. And last but definitely not least, there is a button for sending a test email. I'll show you where that is. I would highly, highly, highly recommend sending a test email to yourself, maybe to a personal email address or something like that, just so that you can see exactly what your donor will see. The last big step of sending or of setting up your confirmation email is this details tab. Everything on this left side here is internal facing. The donor will not see it, right? So the name of your email template is what you'll see on the Bloomerang side of things. The purpose here, this is the key. Make sure that it is marked to acknowledgement. The acknowledgement is what causes that yes or no, has the donor been thanked, kind of toggle switch on a transaction to be flipped to yes or no. So make sure that acknowledgement is selected there. It's also what will cause the email template to show up as an option for an acknowledgement email in your form settings, which we'll get to in just a moment. And then email interests here, you want to make sure that everyone receives your email no matter what they're opted in or opted out of. So make sure that you select all of them. On the right side here, this is what the donor will see. So we have our email details. This is the subject line, right? So that's what shows up right in the top of the inbox. The from name here, you can make the from name whatever you would like. If an assistant wants to make an email appear as if it's coming from a CEO, that can be done here by putting in that from name. The from email works in a very similar way. So if someone else was setting up this email template, they could put in my email into that from box, and that would make it appear that it came from me. So at this point, let's go and do that in the actual database. So we'll click to the emails area here. We have our email templates that are already existing, but we're going to hit this blue new button in the top corner. We are then going to select Starter Template. And now we see all the different kinds of templates that are available. You do have to start from a template within Bloomerang, but you can customize just about everything on it. In this case, I want to say I want something that is transaction based. The easiest one is just this simple transaction template. So just as we saw before, we have the template itself here. And as you can see, as I scroll over things, I get these green boxes. Those are each different content boxes that I can move around. I can change the picture if I wanted to. I could add a button. I could even put in a whole video if I wanted to. You can also add rows, right? So kind of places for your content to live. Maybe I want to put an image here and I want to put some text on that side, right? So now we have like an image next to a piece of text and so on. You can customize this for yourself and I would highly recommend doing that. Before you set anything live, I would always recommend the send test button. Make sure that that email is saying exactly what you want to say in the way that you would like to say it. It's undoing an email is very difficult, near impossible. So just make sure that it's right. The filtering in this case, we can really just ignore because we want it to go to everyone, no matter what. The details is where we're really going to come into play here. So remember on the left side here, we're describing our email, right? So this is all internal facing items. I'm going to give the name of the email template and I'm going to call it Giving Tuesday Thanks. I'm then going to set my purpose to acknowledgement. This is the key there, making sure that that email will appear as an option on my form. I'm then going to select all of my email interests and allow blank merge fields. If I have a merge field in my email, let's say we're putting in a merge field for birthday and someone doesn't have a birthday. Do you want the email to still go out if the birthday is blank? That's a question. It's up to you. On the right side in our email details, this is what our donor will see, right? So in the subject, I'm going to say something like, thanks for donating. You are cool. Whatever we want the donor to see there in our subject line. I'll set my from name as my name. And then the from email as my email. Let's say I wanted to send this from something more generic, like info@bloomerang.com. I can set that there. So I've set my from name as my name, but the email and where any replies to the email would go are going to go to info@bloomerang.com. The next step here is just hitting the save and button. And let's say preview, so we can make sure that it's saying what we want it to say. We have that in there. And from here, we will leave it actually as where it is, right? Because we've saved our email and now we can move forward. Okay, all right. What you all came here for, actually building the online giving form. So this is going to be a step-by-step walkthrough of what each of these settings means, how you should use it, and what it looks like in practice. So I will walk through it and then we'll demo it all for you. Also, I would highly encourage create an online giving form here as our resource. Don't sleep on that knowledge base. It is expansive and fabulous. I use it personally all the time. Okay, so how are we getting to building this online giving form? We are going to begin by clicking the settings, which is in the bottom left menu. We will then click the blue Edit button on the Website Integration tile. We will then click Select on the Online Giving Forms tile, and then click the blue New button, which will live in the top right corner again. What this looks like, we have our settings, website integration. That will take us to the website integration area here, where we'll click on the online giving forms here. So what this looks like in practice, we go to our settings. We go to website integration here. Online giving forms. Then we'll hit our blue new button. So we're starting fresh from a brand new form. Okay, so form settings, starting at the very top here. First off, we're just going to give the form a name. This is internal facing. The donor will not see it. It's just kind of how you know what this form is for. If this is for Giving Tuesday and it's going to be specialized in some way, name it something that includes Giving Tuesday. That's up to you. How do you know what it is? That's what you should name the form. We will then select the transaction processor. If we remember, the transaction processor is that mechanism that actually moves the money from the donor to you. So we'll want to make sure that Bloomerang Payments is selected there. Then our confirmation email comes into play. This is the email template that we just created. So any email that has the purpose of acknowledgement will appear in this drop-down menu. We want to make sure that we select it. Then we have our notification email, which is going to be slightly different. This is the standard notification that comes to your staff members or whoever should be alerted that a transaction has come in. So you can add as many people as you would like there. If there's a development director or something like that that likes to be notified of every single transaction, this is a great way to make sure that that's just an automated process and that person will always know. So let's handle that section first here. All right, so we'll give our form a name. Let's call it Hannah's Happy Form. Why not? That's what I know what it is. For my transaction processor, I will make sure that Bloomerang Payments is selected there. For my confirmation email, I am going to do Giving Tuesday Thanks because that's the one that we just created. And for my notification email, let's say I want to make sure that Diana is notified every time a transaction comes in. So I'm going to put in her email address right there. And you can add as many as you'd like, all the way down. The entire organization can be notified if you would like. That's your choice. All right, next steps. The next step down here is for funds, campaigns, and appeals. Really, you're just selecting what fund, campaign, and appeal should be applied to every transaction that comes in via your form. So at the top here, we have our fund. It's in green because that is a required value. Every transaction must have a fund. Generally, a fund refers to how you're going to handle this money internally. Is it all going into one big pot where you can use it for anything? Then it's probably something like general operating, right? Or unrestricted. If you're raising money for a specific item, like maybe you're trying to build playground equipment, then playground equipment is probably your fund, right? The big internal bucket that you think of. The donor will not see this fund, campaign, and appeal anywhere. This is purely internal facing. There is an option to select more than one fund here, in which case the donor would see the fund because it allows them to select, do I want to give to the general/operating fund, or do I want to give to the playground equipment, or do I want to give to something else? What are other funds that you have in your database? And you can add those here by clicking this Add Fund button. The next piece down here is your campaign. Campaign is not in green here, and that means that it is not a required value, but it's highly encouraged. Fund campaign and appeal are going to be the easiest way that you are able to figure out which pieces of, or which donations were supposed to be for what. It keeps you more organized on the Bloomerang side of things. Generally, you should think of the campaign as what the donor knows they gave to, right? If I showed up at your door and said, I got your mailing, here's $20 for the kids reading program. Kids reading program is probably my campaign in that situation. The next piece down here is the appeal. Again, it's not a required value. It's not in green, but it is highly encouraged. It's going to keep you organized. The appeal is typically what caused the donor to give. How did you ask them? Did they just show up at your door and give you money? In that case, maybe there is no appeal. However, if I received a mailing and then gave you money, that mailing, that solicitation is probably my appeal. So let's scroll down and apply those. Our fund campaign and appeal here in our demo database. I have a few different options here. I'm going to just select general operating because I want to be able to use this money that's generated from the form for anything. For campaign, I'm going to say Giving Tuesday, right? The donor knows they're giving for Giving Tuesday. That's how I want to say, or that's how I want to track that they cared about Giving Tuesday. That compelled them to give. That's important to them. And then the appeal, let's say that this was the membership renewals appeal, maybe. Maybe let's pretend that says 2022 holiday letter or something like that. Just kind of what caused that donor to give? Why are they here? How did they get here? Personal solicitation might also be a good choice. Did you just ask them for the money? Okay, next piece down here is this area regarding recurring donations. A Bloomerang form will always allow for one-time donations. I want to give you money one time, or a recurring donation, which in that case, I would say, I would like to give you $10 every month for forever, or until I say stop. Bloomerang forms allow the donor to make that decision. Obviously, a recurring donation is going to be like retain your donor for a longer period of time. I would always encourage a recurring donation if you can. So these two checkboxes here refer to those recurring donations. Allow donor to select frequency. By default, all recurring donations will occur monthly unless this box is checked. If the box is checked, the donor will be able to say, I want to give this amount of money yearly, or I want to give this amount of money quarterly, something like that. The next here is allow donor to select the start date. By default, all recurring donations will start immediately. As in, if I set up a recurring donation today, I will see that first amount of money come out of my bank account today. This checkbox would allow the donor to say, I'm setting it up today, but I really want it to charge at the end of the week. Or I'm setting it up today, but let's start on the first of the month. These two checkboxes are completely optional. If you're worried about it, maybe leave them unchecked until you feel more comfortable and then decide to check them. It's entirely up to you. It's important to note here that if a donor does choose to set up that recurring donation, whatever their payment method is, so their credit card, debit card, or bank account will become the payment method on their recurring donation. So if I set up a recurring donation to start today with my credit card will be charged on whatever frequency on every month. If I set it up with my bank account my bank account will be charged every month or whatever frequency is set. So in my case, I'm just going to leave both blank because I just want them to be able to say, do I want to give this recurring? And monthly feels okay for me. Okay, next piece down, EFT and True Impact. EFT, which you also might know as ACH, stands for Electronic Fund Transfer, right? So this means that the donor is entering in their bank account information, and that bank account will be directly debited for the amount that they choose to donate. By default, a credit card is going to be kind of the payment method of choice. It's the easiest. People typically have it pretty handy. I don't know about you, but I don't know my bank account number off the top of my head. So checking this box would allow the donor to enter that bank account should they feel so inclined. True Impact here is the opportunity for the donor to select whether or not they would like to cover the fees of their transaction. There are transaction fees with any processor that you use. Checking this box allows the donor to say, on my $100 donation, there are $5 worth of fees. So I would like to increase the amount of my donation to $105 to cover those $5 in fees. Again, this is entirely optional. Both of these are. There's not really any harm in allowing people to select EFT. If you want some guidance, I would say give them the option. If nobody's doing it, uncheck the box down the way. Regarding True Impact, I would highly encourage selecting this. Allow that donor to make that choice. More often than not, if you give them the option to cover the fees, they'll probably just do it, and that saves you some money. So on our form here, I'm going to say allow for EFTs and allow for True Impact, right? So I'm saying allow for both of those things to happen in my data or on my form. All right, donation levels. This is the next big one. So this is where you can create suggested giving levels for your donors, and each line will have a statement of how that's going to help you. How is that going to impact your mission, your organization's goal? You can add as many as you'd like using this new Add New Donation Level button. I have 4 here. Each of them is requiring an impact statement that it does have to be on there. So for my example here, I said $25, that's going to feed 1 hedgehog. For $50, we can replace the bedding in a hedgehog enclosure. For $300, we can transport a hedgehog to a new home, wherever they are. Obviously, these are just made up things, but if you care very strongly about hedgehogs, now you can connect to, oh, I would like to make sure that those hedgehogs are transported safely to wherever they're going, right? So I'll give $300. It helps the donor to kind of visualize what their donation is doing. Why should they give? A blank amount field is also included by default on online giving forms. So the donor will always have that opportunity to say, I really want to give $75. That's not an option here, so they can type in 75. So the donor always has that freedom to give whatever amount they would like. I also put down here just a pro tip. Don't be afraid to aim high. Always have a high option there. Have a low option, have some middle options, and have a high option. Maybe somebody does it, and that's really good for you. So let's do these ones in practice here. I'm going to hit Add New Donation Level. Make my first amount here $25, and let's say this will feed 1 cat for 1 week. I can add another one. Let's say this one is $50. We're going to feed 6 cats for 4 weeks, something like that. And then let's do a high option too. Let's say if somebody wants to give $250, right? We'll say buy all new cat beds, because why not? Somebody will do it. Maybe somebody feels really strongly that cats should have all of the bedding that they find comfortable. It's also worth pointing out that we have these buttons over here. So let's say that $50 level, I don't actually want that one in there. I can delete it by hitting that X button. Let's say also I want this $250 option to be at the top. I can use this up arrow to move it up. If I had another donation level, I can move that one up. I can move other things down. I can put them in any order that I would like. All right. Last piece on the first page of your online donation form is in regards to custom fields. Every organization has a little bit different of an idea of what they care about to find out about their donors or about a donation. So we have this add constituent field and add transaction field button, both of those there. So if you have existing custom fields in your database, you can add them to the bottom of your form and gather that information from the donor before they hit that submit button. So in this example, we have the custom field called interests. And then we have the display name over here with what do you like about hedgehogs, right? If I as a donor come to your form and I just see interests, you know, what are you asking about? I know that that probably means something to you internally, but what does that mean to me as a donor? What are you asking me for, right? So this display name is where you can say exactly how you want that field to appear to your donor. So in this case, I just said, what do you like about hedgehogs? And this is another big one here. Does your employer match gifts? We know that employer matching is pretty common out there. So why not ask them? Why not at least have them think about whether or not their employer would match their gift? The worst they can say is no, and that's okay. So in this case, I have does employer match gifts as my custom field. And then my display name is does your employer match your giving? Just a little bit more flowery, a little bit more descriptive for the donor to kind of understand what I'm asking them for. It is important to point out here that these custom fields must already exist in your database. If there is something that you want to ask, if you want to ask about everyone's favorite color, but that is not a custom field that already exists in your database, you need to go back to your custom fields, create it, and then you can put it onto your online form. So here we go. Let's see, add transaction field. I want to say employer match, and then I'll make my display name does your employer match your giving? Add another field for, is this gift matched? This specific gift, will it be matched? Can I expect a donor or a matching gift to come in from your organization? And is this gift matched? Or maybe will this gift be matched? That works, right? Make sure it's just the donor knows exactly what you're asking them for. Maybe you want to add another constituent custom field for interests. Let's make our interests, you know, what do you like about cats? I want them to tell me. At the end of all this, I will then click this next button. It kind of floats with the page. It lives up here at the top. Oh. Okay, going back. Now we're going to talk about the success page what happens after the transaction goes through? Everybody's happy. What does the donor see next, right? You have two options here, build in Bloomerang or redirect to URL. Both are good options. If you're worried about it, build in Bloomerang is a great way to go, right? So this is the text and the message body that will appear where your form appeared, right? So we have your form, they hit the submit button, the form will then go away and they'll see the title and the message body that you leave here in that exact same place on the website. It also gives you the option to include some social media links. So if you want them to engage with you on Twitter and Facebook, make that an option. The worst they can do is not do it. That's okay. It's a great choice. You can even pre-fill some tweet text so that they can have a place to start from. The other choice here is redirect to URL. So maybe you have a page on your website that you would rather the donor just be directed to after that transaction goes through. That's okay. That sounds great. Maybe it's a recent events page or a get involved page, something like that, a volunteering opportunity. If they were interested enough to make a donation to you, maybe they're interested enough to get more engaged with you. It's your opportunity to direct them to a page on your website that would do that. So you'll just need to make sure that the URL of that page is entered into this box here. It is important to know that it should be the entire URL, right? So make sure the whole thing is in there. Easiest just to copy and paste it from your website. So back on our form here, I have my success page. I'm saying thank you for your donation. We truly appreciate your continued support. And so do the cats. I can add in my Twitter handle here. I can add in a Facebook page. I can even pre-fill my tweet text here. Or if I'd prefer to redirect to my URL, I'll click that button. And then I just have a simple URL field here. In this case, I'm just going to stick to build in Bloomerang. The next step will be hitting save and preview here. Okay, so we're on the preview page of our form. We have our donation levels that we've set. We have that other box where the donor can enter in their amount. They can decide to set up a recurring donation, right? So they would check this box to kind of set that up and have that start going. What you're looking at on this preview page is that all of the correct information is there. It's a pretty basic form, and it's intended to be that way in this situation because when it is put on your website, it will inherit the style of your website. If you have if you have a fun font that you like to use on your website that exists everywhere else, your form will inherit that font as well. It will also take on like the text size and things like that. If you scroll through this whole thing and find that there's something that needs to change, just hit that edit button and go back, make the change. You can go back and forth as many times as you want until it's showing exactly what you want it to show. So in my form here, I have my donation levels, the other box. They can check this box to make the recurring donation setup. The pieces of information that are requested on the form are set, right? So they always have to give their first name. They'll always have to give their last name. They'll always have to give their email. Phone number is optional, but the box is there. If it's there, they'll probably just fill it in, but you never know. The billing address is included here so that the credit card can be processed, right? So they'll just have to make sure that that information is included. The payment information here, we have this credit card option, but we also have the savings and the checking account option. These are our EFT choices. When you click those, a little box will appear where they can enter in that bank account number. Under the additional information area, this is where my custom fields come into play. So I say, does your employer match your giving? Yes or no. Will this gift be matched? Yes or no. What do you like about cats? It looks like the values in my custom field here. I feel like cats aren't fundraising, but maybe they are. But this is just fitting my interests field, right? So whatever the values that exist in the field already are, is what will appear on your custom field. And they'll be able to select more than one here. Finally, they can leave information in the comments box if they would like. And this is where the true impact comes into play, right? So it says, yes, add the amount, right? So it's going to tell them how much the bank fees are. And if they check the box, their donation amount will be increased that amount of those fees. And so their entire donation will be covered, right? So it's not going to cost you any money to receive their donation. Towards the bottom here, we have this still not right area. So this area refers to if you would prefer to make changes to your website or to your form that are not standard, you can do that. We'll give you access to the entire stack of code, and you can make any changes that you would like there. I would only encourage that if you or someone on your staff has experience and feels comfortable with code. It can get overwhelming pretty fast. So if you don't feel completely comfortable with it, I would say stick with the basic form here. Additionally, if something feels funny or doesn't seem like it's working with your form, the support team can help you out if it's the standard form. Choosing to self-host and take on that full stack of code, they cannot help you with that. That's why being comfortable with that coding is important in that situation. The next step here will be to click the blue Next button. This is where we see this code snippet, this 2 lines of code. So by the magic of Bloomerang, that entire form is condensed into 2 lines of code here. So all you will need to do in order to get this form onto your website is copying and pasting this code onto your website builder. It usually needs to be in its own kind of content block. If you have issues with that, the support team can help you a little bit. They can kind of give suggestions. Though ultimately making it appear on your website is something that you will need to do yourself. Also, I want to point out that the linked knowledge base article here does include links and kind of how-tos for popular website platforms. If you use something like Wix or Square, something like that, it'll be step-by-step directions on how to actually get this 2 lines of script to appear on, or to get onto your website and then make the actual form appear. So here we have our code. So I would just copy and paste that into my website. And we're actually done. We've built the entire form. The last step is checking out your form. Put it on your website. Make sure that it looks the way you want it to look, right? We have a demo website here. Diana's lovely Through the Looking Glass website. And the form appears down here. It's taken on the existing style of the website, right? So I think this is a more standard font than that Times New Roman. We see all of the information all the way down, and that we have this CAPTCHA as well. The CAPTCHA is very important because that's what holds or protects your form from being attacked by fraudulent attempts. Okay, next big step, or next big question that typically comes up at this point in time. What happens when the transaction actually comes in? The form is on the website. That's all lovely and exciting, and you've started receiving transactions through it. The first step is that the donation is received, right? Once the donation is received, the Bloomerang database will automatically search through all of the constituents in your existing database to see if it can find a match. It's going to check first name, last name, and then phone, email, or address. If it can find a match on first name and last name, and then one of those pieces of information, it's going to add that transaction to the existing timeline, right? So that's this side. So it's doing its best to not create duplicates and putting the transaction onto your donor's existing timeline already. The other thing that could happen here is that it doesn't find a match. Maybe I am in the database as Hannah Wishart, my maiden name, and now I'm Hannah Sheldon. I'm giving with Hannah Sheldon as my name. It's not going to find a match because I don't exist in the database yet. In that situation, it will create a new constituent and add the transaction that I just did onto my new timeline. So that will ensure that the information is still retained. And if down the way you find out that Hannah Wishart and Hannah Sheldon are truly the same person, which they are, you can combine those two constituents together. You can merge them together. So one of those two things will happen. The next step, no matter what, is that the acknowledgement email is sent to your donor. This is the email template that we went through and created earlier in the webinar. Then the last step is that the confirmation email is sent to your organization. So when we were saying all of these people should be notified when a transaction comes in, all of those people listed out will receive a standard notification email, which looks like this. So a transaction came in. This is the notification email that you would receive in your inbox if you're one of those people listed. It is a standard email. It always includes the date, name, email, amount, the fund, the form name that it came in through, and any comments the donor might have left. You can click the button to view the donation in Bloomerang. That's going to take you to the actual transaction on the constituents timeline in your database. It will also reference the name of the organization here at the top. Okay, so I know that was a lot, but here are our next steps. This is what we're going to do at the very end here. You have this online form. You've started receiving donations. Everything is working as you expected. What do you do? The first thing I would suggest here is send an email and ask your constituents for donations. Maybe only people that happen to be poking through your website gave before. Send an email, direct them via a link or a button back to your website to your online giving form. If they're there, they might just give. The next thing you can do is measure your form's performance with reports, right? So it'll be your, you've gathered this data, right? Let's use it. Let's make a data-informed decision about how to move forward. Do your donors really, really love giving online? Great, let's do more forms. You can have as many forms as you would like. There's a couple reports that I'll walk through with you. The first is in regard to first-time donors, right? So these are people that have never given to you before, and now they are. Wow, that's great. What's causing them to do that? What is the catalyst for change there? And then how many recurring donations have been set up? If you're allowing people to give via a recurring donation on that form, how many people are doing it? Do people really like that kind of set it and forget it mentality of, I'm just going to set it up to give you $20 every month and move along and know that I'm supporting? That's great. How do you foster more of that? I would also encourage you to share your success via social media. Did you raise the most money ever on Giving Tuesday? Great. Share that with your social media followers. And challenge them to give more in the next year. And I would also just encourage you to use your reporting opportunities here, your reporting skills, to let board members know. Let them know that you're doing really good work, right? What's a great way to show that your efforts are actually having an impact? Report on it, right? You can't argue with numbers. So those two reports that we talked about for first-time donors and recurring donations. So there's two reports, and I'll show you how to build them. The first is a constituent report, because we want to look at the whole constituent. And we want them to appear in our report if the first transaction that they have given came in through this form. If it did, that's great. Maybe you reach out to them and have that conversation about what caused them to give. Why were they compelled to give on your form? The other report that you could really run, that could be really useful, would be recurring donations that are created through your form. So this is a transaction report. We'll use the online form filter here. We'll say online form is general donation form. And the type is the recurring donation schedule, right? So this is bringing in all of the recurring donations that were set up through that form. So looking at both of these, we'll go to our reports area here. We'll hit the blue new button. And then to build both of those that I just described, we'll build a report from scratch. So to look at our first-time donors, we'll hit constituents here. And we'll hit our green add filter button and search for has transactions. We'll then select it. We'll change the green words has any to the first. So the first transaction is a transaction where the online form is Hannah's happy form, the one we just created. We'll hit this OK button. We'll double check that our filter is showing what we want it to show. So what we're saying is show me any constituent where the first transaction is from this form, right? They've given no other way in the past. We'll hit that blue OK button and it'll refresh our results. In this case, we just created that form and it doesn't exist anywhere yet. So we don't have any transactions that have come through on it yet. To build our recurring donations report, we'll go back to the reports area, hit the blue new button, build a report from scratch, and then select transactions. We're looking to see a list of transactions in this situation. So we'll begin by hitting the green add filter button, and we'll search for online form. So show me any transactions where the online form associated is Hannah's happy form. And we'll hit the blue OK button. Next, we'll hit the green and button, right? Because in order for a transaction to appear in this list, we want it to fit both criteria. So we'll say, and the type of transaction is a recurring donation schedule, right? So it's a schedule that was created through this online form. We'll hit the blue OK button. And again, we're not going to get any results just yet because our form hasn't received any transactions yet, but they would appear in here. There are a bunch of reporting templates that you can use. They exist in your database already. If you noticed when we were building our reports, we were hitting build a report from scratch, but we have start from a template as an option as well. So there's a ton of templates in here that you can start from and then customize down to make it appear the way you want it to appear. So if we go back to our database and go back to the reports area, we'll hit the blue new button, start from a template, and then we have all of these templates that already exists. Maybe you want to see people who gave last year but not this year. Maybe you want to see who's given you the most. Maybe you want to see people who've only given one time. Why was that? And you can adjust any of these to include further filters. So this is our, I believe I hit the top donors report. So we could say, we could add any filters that we would like here as well. Okay. The last thing that we can do is walk through how it actually looks for the donor to give this donation. So I'll just use this existing form that we have here. So I will say, I want to give $30. I'm going to say my donation is for where it's needed most. Use it wherever you'd like. I will put in, I'll put in my information. There we go. Okay, I'm going to leave the phone number blank and for the moment. I'm going to say my address is 123 Main Street, Indianapolis, Indiana. Put in my zip code. I'm going to give via a tester card number that we have. I'll put in information. Let's see. Does my employer have a matching gift program? Let's say yes. Will this donation be matched? Why not? Maybe my comments are, I love cats. I'm going to say, yeah, let's cover the bank fees, right? So my donation went up from $30 to $31.20 because $1.20 is the bank fees associated with my transaction. I'm going to hit the I'm not a robot button and then hit donate. We're now processing. And here's my success page, right? So they said, thank you for your donation. Your generous gift has been processed. We truly appreciate your continued support. And they've given me the opportunity to tweet about this or follow Bloomerang, follow my organization. And the last thing I can show you is the Sorry, just a moment. Here we go. So this was in Diana's demo database that form existed, right? So this is the acknowledgement email that was sent to me as the donor. And also, as someone who works at this organization, I received this email. This is my confirmation email saying that, hey, today Hannah Sheldon gave you $31.20, right? They left my comment in here. I love cats. I have my organization's name. And the subject line is online donation from Hannah Sheldon, and then my constituent number. So it's just about everything you could really need in order to thank the donor further or kind of make the next steps as you see fit. It's been lovely working with you all today. I definitely appreciate your time and your patience. The last step here is our resources. right? So these are links to all of the knowledge-based resources that I used during this entire presentation. They will come with these slides that are emailed out to everyone after. Also, these are the names of the articles. So you can go to the knowledge base and search for any of them, and they should pop right up. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Hannah. We really appreciate you being with us today and sharing this information. Remember that if you have any other questions, you can always go into your database and you can, I'm going to go ahead and bring my screen up and just show you. You can click on the question mark up in the upper right hand corner, and it will take you to a link where you can find all kinds of information in our knowledge base. So, and also please remember that if your question was not answered today, you can always reach out to our support team. Later today, you should receive the recording and the slides. And again, we just want to thank you so much, Hannah. This was great information, and I know that our attendees got a lot out of it. So thank you very much for being here.
No problem at all. Happy to do it.
Great. Everyone just have a great day, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Take care.